Happy Mercy Day, everyone. Welcome to this presentation of the critical concerns of the Sisters of Mercy. And thank you for being interested in the critical concerns and inviting me to tell you a little bit about them. As I look over your website, I can see so many mentions of the critical concerns. Sometimes they're explicit and sometimes they're implicit. So I can see that they are very much at the heart of your Mercy education, and I'm really happy about that. My name is Sister Suzanne Gallagher. I'm a Sister of Mercy, and it brings me special delight to be here because I was a faculty member at Gwinnett Mercy. It was a college then, now university, for 14 years, from 1997 about until 2014. So I've been back many times, but it is very, very good to be back with you today for this presentation. Thank you again. I'd like to begin with just a little overview of the presentation today. A little bit of the history, not the history of Mercy, because you have that and you have a beautiful iteration of that on your website, but just a little bit about the history of the critical concerns. I hope I mention why we have critical concerns. I'll list the critical concerns and then you'll see what do we do with them. Well, of course, it all starts with Catherine Macaulay. And you know that she founded a House of Mercy in Dublin, Ireland in 1824. And down through the decades, the purpose of the foundation of the House of Mercy and actually the congregation of the Sisters of Mercy was to respond to the needs of the times. And I know you'll see that as we go through this today, that responding to the needs of the times was, first of all, why we exist as Sisters of Mercy, and also to help us through our critical concerns. We've had several iterations of the critical concerns through the years. Justice was always part of them, as was women and children. Some of them got more and more finely defined, though, through encuentro, through encounter. As we encountered people and situations, the critical concerns began to take life, take a form. And I have no doubt that they will continue through our meeting the situations and our times, that we will continue to develop our critical concerns. What I'll be using is what we decided in 2018. When I say we, I mean the Sisters of Mercy. I'll list these critical concerns first. Care for Earth, nonviolence and peacemaking, women, racism, and immigration. These 5 have started to be the ones that we really do, they're our go-to critical concerns. We're concerned about a lot of things, but these are the ones that really do help us to form our life and ministry. So why do we have them? To give shape to our life and ministry. I want to talk about each of these critical concerns. Some I'll talk about in a little bit more detail, and others I won't have time to talk about in detail, but I have images and words that hopefully you will find meaning in. We decided to look at all of our critical concerns through the lens of nonviolence. And why is this such a primary critical concerns and the lens through which we look at our critical concerns? Well, you tell me. It is of primary importance in our world today. So through nonviolence, We want to grow in our personal practice of nonviolence and peacemaking. We want to actively collaborate with communities and organizations that foster peace and nonviolence. And I see you doing this through a lot of the activities that I find on your website. And also, we work to change violent systems and structures. Our personal practice, to collaborate with others, and to really work to change violent systems and structures. Pope Francis was a big help to us. He wrote a letter for the World Day of Peace a few years ago, and it was called The Politics of Peace. How do we work at nonviolence and building peace? Francis tells us in the most local and ordinary situations and in the international order. So it's not just about going to the UN, which we do. It's about the local and ordinary situations that we find ourselves in. Francis says, may nonviolence become the hallmark of our decisions, our relationships, and our actions, and indeed of political life in all its forms. Some people might say, oh, I don't want to be political, or I don't think we should be political. Friends, where there are power relationships, there are politics. I'm not talking about, politics with capital letters. I'm talking about the power relationships in our everyday life. In the picture, we see a lot of people who went to D.C. to the Senate, the Russell office building, and had a nonviolent protest. You see a lot of people there with purple t-shirts on, and some of those t-shirts will say, Sisters of Mercy of the Americas for Justice. Those people are having a nonviolent protest against immigration systems in the United States. I was there, I was watching them, and it was so powerful. It was a good display of how to use our power in a nonviolent and peaceful way to make a point. And I'd just like to ask you, what violence do you see or experience in your life? In your neighborhoods, in your communities, in your families, in your classrooms? What violence do you see? Local and ordinary. How do you take a nonviolent and a peaceful stance? Wherever we see violence, we have an opportunity to take a nonviolent and a peaceful stance. Care for Earth is such an important critical concern. And during September into October, we celebrate the season of creation. And it's just a time to remember specially that we are committed to work zealously toward the sustainability of all life by caring for Earth's ecosystems, addressing global climate change, advocating for the fundamental right to clean water, and committing ourselves to an integral ecological conversion. That last phrase is directly from the encyclical of Pope Francis, Laudato Si, Care for Our Common Home. He really teaches well that we are all connected, integral, ecological conversion to realize that and to act as though we realize it. Now, there are lots of ways that we do it. I saw the Mercy Earth Challenge on your website, and it made me really happy. I have to say I was a little surprised. Not that Gwinnett Mercy University wouldn't have it, but that is a detail that we're working on during the season of creation. We have phases in the season of creation. Season 1 was deepening our understanding and responses to Laudato Si. Season 2 was recognizing water as a sacred gift, to become conscious of our consumption of water. Not only directly drinking water, using water, but also the amount of water used in the production of things I purchase. And season 3 that we're in right now is a reflection on a topic that binds us tightly to creation, food, a gift from the earth that not only sustains us, but it links us to so many other sisters and brothers around the world. Here are some ways that I pictured that we, care for creation. I'll just spend a little time here. Down on the lower right-hand side, you see the book Laudato Si and Pope Francis there. And pictured with him is one of my colleagues. We're all working on how can we care for Earth. And she, Kathy, decided that one way is reduce her use of plastics and plastic bags in particular. So these are mesh bags that she uses at the grocery store now to bag her fruit and her vegetables. And also she gives those mesh bags out as gifts. In the upper left-hand corner, you see the Pope with Greta. And Greta's saying, join the climate strike. She's inviting the Pope. I hope you remember the climate strike last year. In the center picture, we had a climate strike down at the Convent of Mercy. Now, the Convent of Mercy isn't too far away from Gwinnett Mercy University. It's about 20 miles southeast of the campus. And we all got out on Montgomery Avenue. We were joined by our colleagues, by some students from a local high school, staff from schools that were there, and people from the neighborhood. They came out to say, we have to care for the earth. And you see that sign, Mercy on Earth. There are other pictures there that I wish I had time to tell you more about. Hopefully, maybe we will. How have you learned to care for creation? What do you do that shows your care for creation, that helps you participate in the critical concerns of mercy? I hope everybody thinks of recycling, because recycling is a great place to start. It's not a place to stop. There are so many opportunities for us to show our care for creation, and some of them take a lot of effort, and some of them are easy. It comes out in what we eat, what we drive, moving to sustainable fuels, getting away from fossil fuels, the clothes we wear. Cotton takes a lot of water to manufacture. We know this. We wear cotton and wool and all kinds of fabrics. Do we know how much water it takes? And what do we do about it? Well, we take care of our things, and besides that, some of my friends go to secondhand stores to buy their clothes. There are so many things that we do, and you can too. I'd like to talk about racism, our critical concern. This is front and center in our vision today. because of the situation in our world. We say we want to continue our commitment to eliminate personal, communal, and institutional racism while working to dismantle structures, policies, and processes that oppress our brothers and sisters. Again, there are all kinds of ways that we do this. The picture at the top of our screen is a picture of some of us who go down and stand. We bear witness to the racism that we find in our world, and we protest it, and we try to build a better world. It's silent. We're just bearing witness. Sometimes people shout things at us. Sometimes people honk in solidarity. We're there because we want to bear witness. Black Lives Matter, such an important phrase these days, and it's so much more than a phrase. We could spend a whole semester talking about that phrase and unpacking it and understanding why it's so important. A group I like to participate with is the Poor People's Campaign. It's a national call for moral revival. Again, I wish I had time to go into that, but it would be good for you to look it up. I love the picture of this little girl. She's an immigrant, and she's saying SOS. She's calling on us. Are you aware? Are you aware of the racism in your own life, in your way of thinking? How does race affect the way you are treated? Do you think about that? Some of us know it because their race affects the way they are treated every day. And some of us don't have to worry about it. We say, oh, I never think of that. Unpack that, my friends. There's a lot in that. How do you think of persons who are different from yourself in many ways? Institutional and systemic racism. That's really, really an important component of all of our institutions and our systems. You see words there that help us to get at things. Again, they're deep. It's stereotypes, yes it is. It's racial bias, it sure is. It's all tied up in white privilege, social mobility, people subjected to violence. There's a word, microaggressions. Microaggressions are part of that everyday, ordinary way that we show people what we think. Sometimes we're unconscious, but it's the way we look at people, it's the way we speak to people, it's the way we act toward people. Small aggressions. We do that in our classrooms. We do it ourselves. And the important thing is that we become aware of it, that we work against it. Of course, another one of our critical concerns is women. We want to advocate for the intrinsic value of women's lives and to promote equality of women in our church and society. Sorry, I can't spend more time on each of these. There are those purple t-shirts again. There are either Sisters of Mercy or our partners in mercy. This slide is of one of our critical concerns that we call immigration. I just want to read what we say about that. We work to ensure the dignity of immigrants, refugees, and victims of human trafficking. and we stand in solidarity with all who suffer oppression. I love the sign that the sister is carrying. We see you, we love you, and we stand with you. How can anybody look at that little child in what they refer to as a cage, sleeping on, certainly not a nice warm blanket? We see you. We love you. We stand with our DACA folks. Do you know any people who are DACA? Because this was in the news a lot, and it will continue to be in the news because we need good immigration laws. Now, how can you join us? 1, become a Mercy advocate. I've left the website there, www.sistersofmercy.org/takeaction. On that website, you'll find the current issues that we're working on. What I really love about that website is on the current issues, we give you background to understand why they're issues, and we supply opportunities to take action. We also help you to find your local elected officials, both state and national, so you can email them or call their office. Look for opportunities, the wonderful service projects that you have at Gwinnett Mercy University. It's wonderful how we reach out, how we learn to understand, as Catherine did, the needs of the day. I would say look for local and ordinary happenings of life that happen all around you every day. We have so many opportunities to practice these critical concerns. The other important issue is register to vote. If you haven't already, you still have time. Register to vote. People are really doing this because voting is such an important activity. Sometimes there's a criticism, young people don't vote. Well, I'd like to say, not at Gwinnett Mercy University. Young people do vote. So register to vote and then get out and vote. Maybe it's sending in a paper ballot. My guess is that many of you will be sending in a paper ballot. So please vote. It's your responsibility. It's your duty. It's your obligation, not just for yourself, although that's very important, but for our brothers and sisters, for our citizens in this country. Please vote. I have this slide here because it's an invitation inspired by the gospel and by the example of our founder, Catherine McCauley. We Sisters in Mercy envision a just world for people who are poor, sick, and uneducated. We commit to serving, advocating for, and praying with those in need around the world. But the Sisters of Mercy can't do it ourselves. We need people to join us in mercy. We need our faculty members, our staff, our students to join us in working at envisioning a just world for everyone. I hope you'll join us. I added this last slide just for a little fun. You don't often find anyone who's not a sports person on a box of Wheaties. I don't know, do they sell Wheaties? They used to when I was younger, and it was always fun to see who was on the box. Wheaties, breakfast of champions. One school asked their faculty members, "How is Catherine Macaulay a champion?" And we can read what folks have said about her. You know, she's a woman ahead of her time, innovative thinking, enabling future generations. She was never afraid of change. She was a champion for the poor. She saw the vital importance of education. She brought out the best in her people, in the people. She was working to make sure the needs of the times were met wherever she could. She didn't do it perfectly in her time. She left it up to us. Are we going to do it perfectly in our time? No, probably not. But we're working at it, and that's the important thing. And so we invite everyone to join us in this work of mercy. And the critical concerns are a terrific way that we can join in making our world a better place. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your attention. It's great to be back at Gwinnett Mercy University. All blessings for a wonderful mercy time, mercy season. Thank you.